Welcome. We are excited to have you join us for this important and informational webinar. As you may know, the National Institute for Dental and Craniofacial Health and Research, NIDCR, released the Oral Health in America report this past December. This report chronicles the strides and gaps related to dental science and oral health across our nation. Additionally, the NIDCR strategic plan was developed and was released in January of this year. We view this plan as a leap into action, hence the name of today's session. Welcome. I am Jennifer Webster-Cyriaque, Deputy Director here at NIDCR, and I'm joined by Dr. Lillian Shum, Director of Extramural Research, as well as Dr. Lynn King, Director of Extramural Activities. Today, we will share a bit about research opportunities that will help us meet the strategic priorities and mechanisms by which you may be able to help us as a dental researcher or as someone who may be new to the field. A couple of housekeeping notes. One, closed captioning will be available. Two, this webinar will be recorded. And while you will be unable to use the chat function, feel free to keep an eye on the chat because links of interest will be provided related to different RFAs. If you have a question, please share it with us in the Q&A section. And we will answer questions at the end. Finally, while there is a raise your hand function, unfortunately, we will not be able to monitor it today. I have our director, Rena D Souza, on the phone, and I'm going to see if she can join us that way to provide a few remarks. So she will join us. I'm going to move forward right now, and when she's able to join us, we'll just break for a moment for us to hear from her. So, strategic priority number one is to integrate oral and general health. This priority focuses on advancing discoveries across the translational research spectrum and drives innovations for prevention, early detection and diagnosis, as well as treatment for dental, oral, and craniofacial diseases and disorders across the lifespan. Priority one calls for deep phenotyping and genotyping. It calls for correlations with environmental and social determinants that influence health and disease. And it calls for the integration of dental, oral, and craniofacial conditions with systemic diseases. There's really a lot to unpack in this priority. Dr. Shum?
Thanks, Dr. Webster-Cyriaque, and hello, everyone. It's good to be with you all today. So yes, this priority encourages research on the fundamental biology and physiology of health, as well as the mechanisms of genetic and environmental disruption that leads to diseases and disorders. And as you all know, our research domains cover many tissue types, from skeletal to soft tissues and tissue interfaces.
Many tissue types. What about diseases and their potential treatment?
Yeah, we cover many disease areas as well, including caries, periodontal diseases, head and neck cancers, disease of the oral mucosa, and from oral complications of systemic issues, salivary gland dysfunctions, orofacial pain, and craniofacial anomalies. Now, through fundamental understanding of disease mechanisms and building models, research findings can optimize approaches to prevention, discover new strategies, and apply them to enhance individual and population health. And on the treatment front, unraveling the physiological mechanisms will inform approaches to reverse the diseases, repair and regenerate lost and damaged structures, and restore functions.
Can you provide a few examples of mechanisms that we have in place to meet these needs?
Yeah, we do have a pair of RFAs out there soliciting from research on in utero treatments of congenital dental cranial facial disorders utilizing animal models. And you can see the link in chat. Areas of interest include replacing a dysfunctional gene expression product using a peptide, modulation of a perturbed signaling pathway using a small molecule, stem cell transplantation targeting damaged tissues, and various gene editing strategies to correct or compensate for mutations. We call for R01 and R21 applications with a due date of July 15th, so a month from now, and I hope many of you are planning on responding to these RFAs.
Thank you. Let's briefly hear from our director, Rena D Souza.
Greetings, everyone. As you might have guessed, I'm on the road, but I'm very happy to join this session and to thank Dr. Webster-Cyriaque, Dr. Shum, and Dr. King for making this a meaningful and impactful webinar. Now, for me personally, strategic thinking ensures that institutions like ours, or organizations like ours, maintain viability and vitality for the future. As we approach our next 25 years to round up a century of existence, NIDCR has to take a look at what it's doing, take charge and take note of changing times, and forge ahead with a lot of courage, a lot of innovation and ingenuity. We've tied the strategic plan together with a firm sense of guiding principles that serve as pillars in a house that you're building or renovating, perhaps. And those pillars include, in a very disease agnostic way, the need for us to translate so that what we do, what we know is translated into what we do. Very important that we take into consideration the importance of inclusivity, diversity, and equity so that we can actually serve the populations that we are charged to serve. So we represent the demographics. And very often, very importantly, to measure outcomes all the time, to be strategically thinking as we execute these objectives of our plan. Now we have guiding core principles of scientific stewardship, of excellence, of rigor and reproducibility, of diversity, as I mentioned before, and being nimble and flexible so that we are prepared for the unexpected and don't ignore serendipity as it knocks on our door. So I urge you to pay attention, ask the right questions, and avail of all the knowledge that will be shared with you today. Thank you so much, Jennifer, Lynn, and Lillian. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. De Souza. Well, we're going to get back to strategic priority 1. And over the years, NIDCR has really been a leader in the microbiome space and in the characterization of the uncultivatables. The oral cavity offers the unique context of the local oral microbiome as an environmental factor that intersects with many other factors in the oral environment, including chemical and mechanical factors, as well as host immune responses. Dr. Shum, what is NIDCR currently doing about the functional microbiome?
Yeah, so we do have a notice of special interest that we put out soliciting R01 and R21 research on the functional microbiome. So current microbiome research is really primarily about the bacteria, but there are so many more microbes in the entire ecology beyond bacteria, including fungi, viruses, archaea, and protozoa, and other uncultivable organisms. So together, these microorganisms interact to drive the stability, persistence, and resistance of the oral microbial community as a whole. So this initiative promotes fundamental understanding of microbe interactions, interkingdom interactions, and the spatial structures, and to study the oral microbial community really as a system or a network. And findings hopefully will tell us how these interactions maintain oral health or transition to dysbiosis and oral diseases.
Those have been a few great examples of strategic priority 1. Strategic priority 2 is about precision dental medicine. And this really highlights research needs to develop more precise and individualized treatments for the management and prevention of dental, oral, and craniofacial diseases. Dr. Shum, why is this important?
Well, dental medicine is in many ways already a practice of precision and personalized care. So for example, dental impressions are taken on an individual to provide spatial information for the fitting of like braces, retainers, crowns, or bridges on that one person, right? And surgical planning as well. The planning adapts each procedure to optimize for size, shape, and position of structures in the craniofacial complex based on the individual's skeletal anatomy and cranial and facial features. However, in the era of big data, there are tremendous opportunities to take data at multiple levels, multiple dimensions, and multiple domains and integrate them to produce a far higher resolution of health and disease at the individual as well as at the population level.
And what's happening in the area of caries and precision dental medicine?
For mentioning that. So, take childhood caries, the most prevalent chronic childhood disease causing pain and lost school days and other sequelae. We supported caries research, including genetics, genomics, microbiome, sex differences, detection of early carious lesions, demineralization, to diet, nutrition, family food choices, oral health behaviors, and other social determinants of health. But using data science approaches, integrating these pockets of information to produce a full picture of individual risk, individual targets for prevention or intervention, and individual responses would improve the effectiveness of reducing the incidence and prevalence of caries.
Absolutely. Well, what actually needs to be done in the area of data to be certain that the field is going to be ready?
Well, much of this research really hinges on the burgeoning domain of data science and associated technology. So one, we need to ensure that there is data readiness from data capture, from diverse sources, curation of that data, ontology, quality control, including new methods to infrastructure for storage and sustainability and sharing. We also need to support research for data application and their utility, not only for downstream research, but also for clinical use. So for example, data mining for new knowledge, computational disease modeling, predictive algorithm embedded in point of care technologies or remote monitoring. And last, but certainly not least, we need to ensure that there is a robust pipeline of data scientists understanding and ready to collaborate in dental, oral, and craniofacial sciences.
Are there grant mechanisms in place related to computational and data science at NIDCR, and who are they targeting?
Yeah, so right now we have a broad notice of special interest out there soliciting for research using bioinformatic, computational, and data science approaches to manage and analyze the data, address new questions, and obtain deeper insights from the data. Now, the notice points to almost all the grant mechanisms we use, from R01s, R21s, to small business research, and the fellowship and career development series. So we hope to support those in our research community to take on data science approach to address the research and clinical questions. But equally important, we also hope to attract those data scientists in other domains to join in to address dental, oral, and craniofacial research questions.
Yes, this data science is certainly going to help us with strategic priority number 3, which is to translate and implement. We just heard from our director how important translation is to dental research. One good example that's ongoing right now is the DocTRC program that has a regenerative medicine focus and is moving discoveries from the bench towards clinical trials. Like regeneration, temporomandibular joint disorder, or TMJD, is a major clinical challenge. We've learned a lot about temporomandibular joint disease, and the knowledge that's been gained so far includes genetic as well as psychological factors. But we really now need to build upon this foundation so we can translate the science to improve patient outcomes. Dr. Shum, can you talk a bit about impact?
Yes, so the ultimate goal of this initiative, TMD Impact, is to assert and sustain a positive impact to TMD patients through, number one, preventing TMD from becoming a chronic pain condition. Number two, early and accurate diagnosis. Three, stratifying patients into clinically meaningful and mechanistically based subgroups. And four, identifying clear ideological targets for development of effective evidence-based treatments. And it's really important to note that the word impact itself is an acronym for improving patient-centered translational research. The emphasis is that research must be patient-centered and that the basic science and clinical observations must be translated into patient care. The approach we're going to take is, in realizing this initiative, is to build a national, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary collaborative to advance TMD science. We wish to do so broadly on all fronts, including connecting the basic and clinical sciences through translational research, as well as attracting a next generation of TMD researchers. And this initiative is in part informed by the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine report that was published in March of 2020, and is entitled Temporomandibular Disorders from Research Discoveries to Clinical Treatment.
How can the community help us with this initiative?
Yeah, we really need the research community to start brainstorming and planning for this collaborative, such as how to advance the science and grow the size of the community in this domain, right? How to attract those currently outside the field into TMD research. So for example, pain researchers from other painful disorders or other joint diseases. How to collaborate to address the many comorbid conditions with TMD, and how to leverage prior knowledge, existing resources, and technological advances to solve the problem. The TMD Impact Collaborative is expected to use a coordinated, multi-level, and integrated approach to address TMD comprehensively from a patient-centered whole person perspective. So with this initiative, we're determined and we're poised to make a meaningful, substantial, and positive impact on the care and lives of those afflicted by TMDs and their comorbidities.
So important. In addition to TMD, another major disease of the head and neck is cancer. We know that the numbers for head and neck cancers do not look good. It's really a heterogeneous group of cancers that together are the 6th leading type of cancer globally. In the United States, more than 65,000 individuals are newly diagnosed every year. That means every hour of every day, somebody is diagnosed here with head and neck cancer. Okay? And of these cancers, squamous cell carcinoma represents 80% of them. Now we know the major risk factors include tobacco use and alcohol consumption, but with aggressive tobacco cessation, the incidence of cancers arising from smoking has actually gone down. On the other hand, viruses also cause head and neck cancers. For example, human papillomavirus, or HPV, the Epstein-Barr virus, or EBV, and Kaposi sarcoma herpes virus. There's been a steady increase in the number of HPV-positive cancers of the oral pharynx, and these, sadly, are often discovered late. And because they're discovered late, the treatment strategies are often very aggressive, surgical interventions, in addition to chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And together, this can cause significant disfigurement and severe morbidity. So NIDCR cancer initiatives offer the potential to translate and implement strategic priority 3, the opportunity for precision dentistry, strategic priority 2, and also the means to integrate oral and general health, strategic priority 1. Dr. Shum, can you share a bit about the AHEAD Cancer Initiative?
Sure. The acronym AHEAD stands for Advancement of Head and Neck Cancer Early Detection Research. And this is a collaboration between NIDCR and NCI, our long-term partner in head and neck cancer research. It's clear that early detection and biomarkers are sorely needed to assess individual risk for head and neck cancers, identify premalignant lesions, surveil for recurrences, metastasis, and secondary tumors, and monitor for responses to treatment. AHEAD is a timely initiative leveraging advances in high throughput technologies and large-scale open source data sets. And some of the major knowledge gaps and research opportunities include the need for biomarker signatures for early cancer lesion classification, assessing current potential biomarkers to improve on the sensitivity and specificity, developing new tools and methods for detecting cancer biomarkers in biofluids, integrating cancer multiomics to allow computational approaches and identifying and integrating additional factors in risk prediction models such as nutrition, microbiome, oral health, and health disparities. So this initiative would really require team science, pooling of resources, analysis of banked biospecimens, and broad and prompt data sharing.
Across the dental diseases, a major, excuse me. Okay. So in addition to cancer being a disease where we're seeing major health disparities in terms of race, ethnicity, and gender, disparities are also a problem for periodontal disease, for caries, and also for TMD. It's going to be really critical that we build the workforce to combat these diseases, and important that the workforce reflect the demographic of the nation. Okay, so strategic priority 4 is to develop a diverse research pipeline where we're nurturing future generations of dental, oral, and craniofacial researchers and oral health professional scholars who can address the public health needs within this continually evolving landscape of science and technology advances. We at NIDCR are committed to developing a diverse pipeline. Dr. King, can you describe the nature of this, or what exactly you mean by a diverse dental, oral, and craniofacial research pipeline?
Thank you, Dr. Webster-Cyriaque, for this question. Of course, NIDCR is deeply committed to building a diverse dental, oral, and craniofacial research workforce that is composed of individuals from a variety of backgrounds who represent the diversity of our nation. The goal is really to bring together individuals who have different life experiences and perspectives and knowledge and skills across a range of disciplines to generate innovative and creative approaches to improving dental, oral, and craniofacial health.
Why is a diverse workforce important?
A diverse workforce is very important because research focused on the benefits of diversity shows that teams composed of people from a variety of backgrounds and expertise produce better and more innovative products and ideas than a more homogeneous group. And NIDCR, of course, is interested in the benefits of a diverse research workforce on scientific innovation and discovery, and is very interested in enhancing the level of participation of individuals from diverse backgrounds in dental, oral, and craniofacial research. We generally, when we talk about diversity, we're speaking primarily of those individuals who are nationally underrepresented in biomedical research. And for us, we include individuals from certain racial and ethnic groups, such as Blacks, African Americans, Hispanics or Latinos, American Indians, Native Alaskans, and Native Hawaiians, and other Pacific Islanders. So that's one group of racial and ethnic groups. Another group are individuals with disabilities. And the third group are individuals from a variety of disadvantaged backgrounds.
What about gender diversity?
Gender diversity is also very important. The literature has shown that women from the 3 backgrounds I just mentioned are face particular challenges at the graduate student level and beyond in some scientific disciplines. In addition, women have been shown to be underrepresented at senior faculty levels in most biomedical relevant disciplines, and may be underrepresented at other faculty levels in specific disciplines such as engineering. For women and underrepresented minorities, it's very important to address both recruitment appointment to positions, retention, and advancement in their careers.
Absolutely. Dr. King, can you describe how NIDCR intends to enrich the pipelines of trainees from groups that are underrepresented in the oral health sciences workforce?
Yeah, we consider that developing a diverse research workforce really includes strong, creative, and diverse oral health science through participation in activities that include research education and research training and career development programs. And this involves both educational environments such as schools, science centers, or museums, and research workplace environments such as higher education laboratories and other research settings. When we talk about research experiences, we're thinking about dental, oral, and craniofacial research. We're really excited about a new program we've just joined, which is called the NIH Science Educational Partnership Program, or SEPA. And this program targets two audiences. One is the projects that happen in the classroom, or classroom-based projects that provide science, technology, engineering, and mathematics content and problem-solving skills to teachers and pre-K through 12 students and families in these communities that generally aren't supported by advanced innovation and educational opportunities. So that's one group, and the other is more informal science education activities conducted in venues outside of the classroom, such as museums. And these type of activities target increasing both workforce diversity, trying to engage individuals in science, and overall improved public health literacy. And of course, for NIDCR, we're interested in improving oral health literacy. And I'd like to mention another opportunity. This is a fairly broad one, is to enrich diversity in the research workforce, our NIH Diversity Supplement Program. This supports mentored research experiences for individuals from the high school to junior faculty levels. It's a supplement to awards of investigators who will serve as a mentor and guide these individuals. And the award provides salary and stipend during the period of their research experience.
What about summer research?
Summer research is a new opportunity we've used in the past, but we're engaged in full force again. This is for high school students, undergraduate students, and their science teachers during the summer academic break. And the goal is to provide these individuals with a really authentic research experience in the field or a laboratory to help stimulate their interest in research and advanced knowledge, the knowledge base of the participants. And of course, we're hoping to really stimulate interest in oral health research. Yeah, and the programs are also intended to not only provide a research experience, but also scientific skills such as presenting research and writing. And that's especially important when you're moving into the high school stage and considering further education in oral health in graduate school or college.
Yes, critical skills. What about awards for individuals?
We have a number of awards to support individuals from groups underrepresented in research across the career pathway, primarily from graduate student to the investigator level. At the graduate student level, we have a pre-doctoral fellowship, which provides a stipend and tuition to students while they're earning their graduate PhD. And that provides up to 5 years of support for this fellowship. Then we have a transition award from the pre-doc to postdoc to really help bridge that rather vulnerable stage. Once they finish, they complete their PhD under the F99 fellowship. And then they transition, it's a plan to transition to a postdoctoral stage, which is a career development award. And that also provides salary and some research stipend. So it's trying to create a plan to really bridge a phase and retain these individuals once they graduate with their PhD and continue into a research career pathway. And of course, it's not just PhDs, clinical PhDs are also, dual degree students are also eligible for this type of program. Then continuing on with that transition from pre-doc to postdoc, we also have a transition, we also have an award for once you hit that postdoctoral junior faculty phase, we have another mentored career development award, which we call the KO1, but that too is for faculty who may have other types of responsibilities. So 75% of the time under a K provides salary and protected time for research, really to help provide that strong foundational research base. But then 25% of your time can be devoted to other activities. If you're a clinician, they can be clinical activities. If you're in an academic position, perhaps a little bit of teaching or other administrative opportunities. So this award, it's up to 5 years, and it really is intended for these junior faculty or postdocs to develop research, a strong research program, data that will support an independent research award.
Great. Now, just a reminder, all of the links to these different opportunities that we're hearing from Dr. King and Dr. Shum are in the chat. I have another question for you, Dr. King. Does NIDCR have specific efforts to retain women in the research workforce?
NIDCR participates in a number of the programs offered by the Office of Research on Women's Health, or WH, at NIH. And I'd like to highlight a couple programs that we participate in. One is the research supplements to promote reentry and reintegration into health-related research careers. The reentry component of this supplement is for individuals who have a doctoral degree or a clinical degree and have had an interruption in their research career because of family responsibilities such as childbirth, child care, elder care, or other qualifying circumstances such as a medical condition or served in the military. The reintegration program is for postdoctoral scientists and predoctoral students who are adversely affected by unsafe or discriminatory environments resulting from unlawful harassment. The supplement is intended to allow their rapid transition to a new and a safe and supportive research environment, so they don't have try to really minimize that break and keep them going to continue on into a research career. And the two opportunities are into these two types of supplements are intended to provide an opportunity for these individuals, especially the reentry, to redevelop your skills, get back up to speed in research, maybe redirect your research, but really to rebuild your knowledge, get back in the field, and hopefully reestablish a biomedical research career. The other program I wanted to mention are administrative supplements to early career investigators who have either a career development award or have received their first R01 award. So if they have a critical life event while they're holding these awards, and in this case, a critical life event we define very specifically as childbirth, adoption, or taking on caregiving responsibilities of an ailing family member. So while they're holding these grants, they have this critical life event, but they want to keep going and try to manage and make progress on their research. So what this supplement does is it acknowledges this is a challenging time, and it provides additional funds for these investigators where they can pay for another researcher to help out for a short time, or additional research resources and or services that will continue their research and get them back, keep them up to speed so they can continue even though they've had these other experiences during that time.
Does NIDCR have any specific efforts in place to retain scientists from diverse backgrounds in dental, oral, and craniofacial research? And can you talk a little bit about this really wonderful and successful Mind the Future program?
Thank you. This is for the opportunity to talk about this program. In 2020, NIDCR launched a pilot program. It's a mentoring and networking program to enhance the career progression of dental, oral, and craniofacial researchers from underrepresented groups. And it provides activities and specifically a mentored grant writing experience for these individuals to develop skills to help foster their faculty, junior faculty, postdoctoral junior faculty progression. So there are skills in managing an academic career, but also if they're going to be oral health researchers, we really want them to be able to have strong grant writing skills. So this is this program, we collaborate with the American Association of Dental and Oral and Craniofacial Research, and it's called the Mentoring and Inclusive Network for a Diverse Research Workforce of the Future, or AADOCR Mind the Future program. So this program accepts 10 postdoctoral or junior faculty per year, and the program is a year long. And they have they participate in career development activities, a lot of networking. The mentees, we call the mentees, often develop their own coffee hours by themselves. They help each other out, and there's collaboration, scientific collaboration that has blossomed from this too. It's very exciting. And then part of the formal activities, there is the mentored grant writing experience guided by experienced NIDCR funded investigators. So that participants write a grant application and we review them in a mock study section. So the idea is that going through this exercise, it will really enhance their competitiveness when they submit to NIH. And of course, the whole goal is to really help these individuals develop a research career and help they continue on and really contribute to an inclusive, vibrant community of NIDCR funded investigators in dental, oral, and craniofacial research.
Now, remind me again what level that we're targeting and tell us about the opportunities to apply for the next cohort.
That's right. So this group, we look at the applications are open to predoctoral fellows and junior faculty, and we really look at those who have demonstrated certainly interest and a commitment and who have high potential to pursue a research career. So we do have both some more junior than in the career stage than others, but definitely there's a tremendous enthusiasm and commitment to the program. And the program, we accept 3 cohorts per year, and the program is currently accepting applications for the 3rd year, the 3rd cohort. And they've extended the due date. So the application due date is now May 16th. So you have some time if you would like to apply to be a part of this program. I encourage you to check out the website. They have testimonials from people who have participated in the program. NIDCR has a story about a couple of our mentees. And I think you'll see the enthusiasm and the engagement these people, the value they found in the program. So I really hope you look at that website and consider participating in the program.
Thanks, Dr. King. You know, critical to the pipeline is support of PhDs and clinician scientists from every background. And we know that the number of dentist scientists that are actually pursuing research careers has just been declining over time as our field grays over time. So what is NIDCR doing to build the dental scientist research workforce?
We've really been trying to develop programs that over the years that are designed to recruit and retain students and dentists in research from predoctoral to faculty levels or junior faculty levels. So we've really made developed dedicated programs to build the dentist scientist research workforce. We can begin with talking about some of the awards, such as the Fellowship Award for dual degree, predoctoral dual degree training of dentist scientists. It's an individual fellowship, which provides a stipend and tuition support for individuals seeking a combined, a dental and PhD degree in a combined program. And then like the diversity programs, we also have the transition award specifically for dual degree dentist scientists transitioning from the end of their dual degree training to that predoctoral phase. We find this a very vulnerable phase for dental dual degree students, because there's should I go into research? What should I do after I earn my degree? So this is really a welcoming bridge to say, here's a pathway you can follow that we will help you support, moving from the predoctoral earn your degrees over to a postdoctoral 3 years of mentored career development training. Similarly, once you have your PhD or your dual degree, we have a transition award from the postdoctoral phase to the junior faculty. So this is the Pathway to Independence Award. So there are a couple of years of mentored research training under what we call the K99 phase. And then you apply for an independent award, which is the R00, which is up to 3 years of funding and after you've achieved a faculty, tenure track faculty position. And we have a special component for the dentist scientists in the independent phase that we will award 5 years of the R00 phase if you are able to arrange specialty training during your independent phase at no more than 25% of your effort. So really most of your effort during your independent phase as a faculty member, 75% of your time has to be for research broadly speaking. But if you can arrange 25% of specialty training, you get 5 years of support.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
What about the non-US citizens or permanent residents?
Yeah, so we also have training grants,
Yeah.
the T32 and the T90, which support a dentist postdoc. They would talk to a program director about up to training grant about opportunities. But a program that NIDCR uniquely has is we have a training grant that is both a T90 and an R90. So it's two components under one principal director. And the T90 will support US citizens and permanent residents. The R90 is for non-US citizens who are dentists. So we will, and don't have permanent residency status. So it's one opportunity we have for non-citizen dentists to have postdoctoral research training.
What about the DSPP program?
This is another unique program that NIDCR developed that provides it's a career development award. It's supported by what we call a K-12 career development award, institutional award led by a program director. And the trainees or the scholars supported by the program, it's intended to provide support for research training leading to a PhD, but then is flexible enough to accommodate clinical specialty training over a 5-year period. So it's our unique combined program. We provide the support for the PhD portion, and working with your institution and the clinical directors, you can develop a program that will integrate with the PhD so you earn the clinical training. You end up with both competencies after 5 years or 6 years or whatever the length that the university proposes.
Right. Well, that clinical training is very expensive. Dental school tuition is high. Are there programs in place to help repay education debt?
Yes, NIDCR participates in 4 loan repayment programs: the clinical, pediatric, health disparities research, and we have a new extramural loan repayment program for research in emerging areas critical to human health, which we call the LRP REACH. This is a unique program. Every institute at NIH can develop their own REACH project. And for NIDCR, we have it available for applicants who have a dental degree and whose qualifying research does not align with the other 3 programs. And therefore, this really helps to expand the pool of dentists who are eligible for the loan repayment program.
What about research training programs for faculty?
We do have a few faculty enrichment programs. We have an F33 fellowship, individual senior fellowship award that provides health research training for experienced scientists, enabling them to update their skills and make changes in the direction of their research. And then we have a short-term mentored career enhancement award in dental, oral, and craniofacial research for mid-career and senior faculty. And it provides support there are two types the way this award can work. It can be dentist over this short period of time, a dentist or a dental, oral, and craniofacial researcher who is seeking to integrate their research or seeking another field to integrate into their research program. So working with a collaborator outside of the field. And then the other way is for an investigator outside of the dental, oral, and craniofacial research who's trying to bring that into their program, dental research into their program. So both ways, a short period of time to try to bring two fields together to collaborate and generate new research directions.
Great opportunity. NIDCR is building opportunities for dental research for dental students as well, in which they can translate and implement through a new initiative that's going to stimulate practice-based research within dental schools. Dr. Shum, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, the initiative is on conducting dental practice-based research in dental school to provide clinical research experience and educational opportunities. So as you all know, we've been supporting the National Dental Practice-Based Research Network. Now, the network involves primarily those practitioners already in dental practices. So as such, there's tremendous opportunities to offer practice-based research in the dental school setting, that is to really reach earlier into the pipeline of the profession, those dental students, postgraduate students, and residents. The overall goal is to support patient-oriented clinical research experiences and skills development for clinical faculty and dental students while they practice in dental school clinics. We expect different forms of collaborations to enrich the clinical research experience, including intra-institutional, inter-institutional, and interprofessional collaborations. And we hope that this initiative will foster a culture of research and collaborative science in dental schools and will offer a unique approach to providing clinical research experiences and skills development.
Great. Our final strategic priority number 5, is to partner and collaborate. And this happens here through multiple mechanisms across agencies, across institutes at NIH, across academic institutions, and in public-private partnerships. And we hope to collaborate with all of you here who are joining us on this webinar. Dr. Shum, can you share a bit about the cross-institute collaboration here at NIH?
Indeed. So partnering with other NIH institutes, centers, and offices, and also for us to be participating in trans-NIH programs are very important for synergies in the common domains, for sharing of expertise and integrating oral health with overall health, and certainly leveraging resources. So for example, we participate in many of the HEAL initiatives. So those are the ones that accelerate research to address the opioid crisis, as well as improving treatment for opioid misuse and addiction. Research ranges from identifying new molecular targets to treating pain, to deciphering social determinants of health disparities in pain management. Another example is that back in 2020, when COVID-19 pandemic first emerged, all of NIH was mobilized to support a series of initiatives called Rapid Acceleration of Diagnostics, or REDX. Those range from developing novel, fast, accurate, and easy to use testing technologies, and also implementing those technologies widely, and in particular reaching the underserved populations. So on those, both of those examples and many others, dental, oral, and craniofacial sciences is included in those initiatives. Our investigators have benefited from funding support, and we have drawn in new blood to our domains.
Excellent. We are so glad that we had the opportunity to share our strategic priorities, NIDCR's answer to the Oral Health in America report, and really a roadmap for meeting the oral health research needs of our nation. We need for you to join us in this critical endeavor, whether you're an established dental researcher, an established researcher in another field, or are new to the field. We look forward to your questions. Okay, so it looks like we've got several questions from the audience. The first is, how is NIDCR supported research currently addressing sex and gender differences in oral health? Dr. Shum?
Yeah, so several of our disease areas within our mission do have clear sex and gender differences. So for example, in Sjogren's disease and TMD. So NIDCR has a long history of supporting research in these areas, including the biological underpinnings of sex differences. Most recently, we launched the support of a new project called Sjogren's Team for Accelerating Medicine's Partnership with the acronym STAMP. This is one of several projects funded through the NIH Accelerating Medicine Partnership program, and especially for autoimmune and immune-mediated diseases. There's co-funding from other NIH institutes and offices, as well as from industry partners. So STAMP will apply cutting-edge multi-omics technologies to interrogate the tissues in Sjogren's disease patients and utilize systems biology approach to identify therapeutic targets and pathways. Now, in particular, it will also address molecular and phenotypic heterogeneity in the disease, and for example, in men, and they have far lower incidence of Sjogren's disease compared to women. I also want to mention that there are several other active funding opportunities specifically to stimulate research to sex and gender influences to health and disease, as well as research on the health of sexual and gender minority populations.
Great. This next question is both for Dr. Shum and Dr. King. What are the funding opportunities for conducting international collaborative research?
Yeah, so I'll start and speak on the research side. We welcome research that includes international collaborations. And we recognize that, for example, in rare disease research, oftentimes we do need foreign sites in order to obtain the number of participants to reach a sample size to address a research hypothesis. And in other research, for example, examining the interaction of gene and environment for determining health and disease, diverse populations and those genetic variants, as well as the local environmental exposures are needed from foreign sites to provide the fullest picture possible. So currently we do have 2 funding opportunities to promote research specifically in the gene bioenvironment interplay, and additional other opportunities that allow for international collaborations. And Dr. King can talk a little bit more about opportunities in the training and career development areas.
There we go. In the research training, we have NIDCR participates in both individual and institutional awards. We support a career development award, which is a K-23, which provides mentor research training for junior faculty under the guidance of both individual mentor from that country and with the US. And most of all the programs that we support or that are supported by the Fogarty International Center are for countries that are low and middle income countries. So one of the programs is this Individual Career Development Award. We also participate in an institutional award that is for non-communicable diseases. So NIDCR will fund projects in the oral health realm where, again, the training happens in a lower and middle income country, and there may be a collaborator with a US institution, academic institution, and or the partnership can be with one of the more resource-rich academic institutions in a lower and middle income country and a more disadvantaged one or less research capacity. So those are 2 specific programs to try to have international collaborations in research training and career development.
Yeah, so critical to capacity building. Looks like our next question is, what is the scope of implementation research in oral health care?
Okay, let me give this a try. Implementation research involves scientifically evaluating strategies for getting evidence-based intervention into practice. So it's particularly important that the research is rigorous and systematic to ensure that knowledge gained through the scientific process, from basic research to clinical trials, is ultimately translated into resources that will actually reach the people they stand to benefit. Now, these principles are reflected throughout our strategic plan, but they're most evident in priority 3 that we covered. I'll add this piece into that priority: translate and implement, right? And especially to reduce inequities and disparities and improve oral health outcomes for individuals and communities. Implementation research is relevant across a spectrum of oral health care practices and potentially applicable to any practices that may be improved upon, whether by implementing new developments to improve the prevention, detection, treatment of oral conditions, or by de-implementing established practices that are shown to be inferior to alternatives.
Now, the bottom line here, though, is thank you for that, Dr. King, Dr. Shum. NIDCR wants to fund the best science, and we strive for excellence in terms of the science. What if I'm a person who's doing research that doesn't fit into any of these RFAs that we've discussed today?
So RFAs really is just only one channel that NIDCR can promote a certain area and identify certain priorities. But the vast majority of the grants that we fund actually came from investigator-initiated channels and not from RFA. So I would welcome any line of research inquiry, any ideas that you have to come in under parent announcement, for example. But also, please feel free to contact our program officers who can help you identify any funding opportunities that can really match up with your research interests.
Absolutely. I'll take the next question, which is, are there implications for federally qualified healthcare centers, or FQHCs, that provide dental services? And the answer is yes. Yes, you as an FQHC can be involved in dental research. It could certainly be a site where clinical research is conducted. And our final question for this webinar is, how can graduate students collaborate to improve oral health? There is a place not only for a clinician and clinician scientists, but for many graduate students and PhDs from multiple fields: genetics, microbiology, biochemistry, molecular biology, computational science, neuroscience, behavioral sciences, public health, and those who have studied processes in other major organ systems, just to name a few. Join us here in dental, oral, and craniofacial research, and help us make oral health for all a reality. I want to thank all of you for joining us today, and we look forward to working with you. Have a great rest of your day.